I'd like to think about this man Bartimaeus and the prayer that he said to Jesus, or the request that he made of Jesus. Now, Bartimaeus, it's interesting, we know his name because most of the people that Jesus healed, we don't hear their names. They're just a man or a woman or something like that. But here, we not only know his name, we know the name of his father, Timaeus, which means that St. Augustine says that probably this was a man of importance. He was a man maybe with great prosperity, and he had fallen to a lowly state. Not only was he blind, but he was reduced to begging on the side of the road. And not just any road, he was begging outside of Jericho, which is the lowest city on earth, 800 feet below sea level. And that doesn't necessarily mean it was a bad place, but it kind of symbolizes how far this man, maybe of great prominence, has fallen. And yet, as he sat by the roadside, he didn't miss his opportunity. When Jesus passed by, he said those words, "Jesus, Son of David, have pity on me." And not only did he say that with faith, he said it with perseverance, even as people tried to stop him. And so this can teach us something about our prayer. And there's actually a prayer that is kind of modeled off of the prayer Bartimaeus. It's also borrowed from a different prayer in the gospel, but it's called the Jesus prayer. The Jesus prayer, I'm not sure if you've heard of this one. It goes like this. There's different versions. Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner. Or Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me. And this is a prayer that people recite very often. And it's a wonderful prayer, first of all, because it uses the holy name of Jesus and his titles, Lord, Christ, Son of God. It reflects upon the fact that we are all in need of God. We are all in need of his grace, of his mercy. It's recognizing our need for him in humility. And also it recognizes that he wants to give us his mercy. So that's a really wonderful prayer. Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner. And people do this sometimes even with their breath. So like they're breathing in, Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, and breathing out, have mercy on me, a sinner. And this practice is really helpful. It can actually bring us a great amount of calm and peace. I've been reading this book called The Mindful Catholic by Dr. Gregory Bottaro. He's a psychologist. And he says that most of our anxiety that we have in life is due to the fact that we are unplugged from the present moment. Maybe we're agonizing about the past or worrying about the future. And so he says anything that we can do to kind of plug into the present moment, to encounter God there, that's really helpful, including like breathing exercises or these prayers. Because he says that we have this, what's called the sympathetic nervous response, the fight, flight, or freeze response that you might have heard of before. And he says when we do these practices, it turns that down in our life so that we can have more peace, more calm. And so this Jesus prayer would be a great thing for us to do. Maybe we're feeling anxious, so we take that time, breathe in, breathe out, say the Jesus prayer maybe 3 times, and we can find that great amount of peace. There's a story from a book called The Way of the Pilgrim, which is a Russian classic. And there was a guy that went to this priest and he said, "Father, what should I do?" He said, "You should say the Jesus prayer 1,000 times. The guy goes off. I don't know how long it took him. And he comes back. He says, "Okay, I did it 1,000 times." He said, "Now do it 10,000 times. And so here's this guy saying this prayer again and again. It's becoming like, as St. Paul says, that we should pray always. And so he becomes kind of like a nomad, wandering around, trusting in God's providence. He only has in his backpack a Bible and another book with sayings from the Desert Fathers. And one day, somebody robs him of his only 2 possessions. And so he sits down and he weeps over his loss. And a few days later, reverse of fortunes, the return to him, and then he weeps for joy. And we don't have to be like that guy. I mean, we don't have to wander around with just 2 possessions. However, we can learn from him and know that like these kind of prayers, this kind of practice in our life can really help us. And so maybe we should think about that. How can I include prayer more often in my day, even if it's a short prayer, even if it's a moment where I'm feeling a little overwhelmed. Okay, take a break, do these practices, and then we'll be ready to face anything. So this prayer of Bartimaeus, wonderful prayer, the Jesus prayer, Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner. This is a great practice for us to do in our lives. Last thing, at the end of Mass, we're going to talk about the stewardship report from the last year. So I know some people like to get up and leave at communion time, and I would just like to invite you to stay, and so you can hear about what the last year has been and some things that are coming up in the future. Now we can stand for